injecting is absolutely spot on. So I would say, even though that is an old injector, it's quite a serviceable injector. Right, the next step, I'm going to swap the last injector, the Bosch type, for exactly the same type of injector, same part number, and we're just going to just see the difference on the scope, and then we'll run through the test on the flow. Okay. Right, I've just stopped the scope. Right, we just finished the flow test. As you can see, the delivery has, instead of being 17.1 like it was with the original injector, the good one, this faulty one, it's gone up to 24.2. And the back leakage, well, that was 11.6, and now we're at 13.3, which is not too bad. That verifies when you say that back leakage on a test on the car, it proves that there is a bad injector there, but it doesn't always improve that it's a good one. You may have really good back leakage, but you still might inject too much. You might get sooty mess out of the back of the car. Right, the next step, I'm going to show you the different makes of injector and how they look quite different on the digital profile. The first one will be we'll probably go for the Siemens piezo. Right, there we go, there's a profile of a Siemens piezo injector. You can tell it's piezo because there you can see switch on and switch off. You can see it works very quickly in conjunction with the electronic signal from the trigger box. And we'll just have a quick look at the profile. This is a brand new injector, never been fitted. There you go, that's a perfect profile of a Siemens piezo injector. Okay, my next step, I think I should probably put on a Delphi. There we go, that's a Delphi injector fitted to, I think it's a transit one, that. Yeah, you can see it's slightly different on the pulse from the injector, obviously current, but very similar to the profile of the other injectors. Just take a quicker look, a closer look. There we go. Obviously another brand new injector. We'd use that as a profile to check the other injectors against it. Right, this is going a bit newer. This is a Denso injector, new transit. There's the delay time, that line there. Now, because of the Denso, it's quite long in construction. It's got quite a long connecting rod from the solenoid on the top down to the nozzle, and because that's quite a large item. It takes quite a force to pull it back, so you get a long delay time, and it injects quite a lot as well. I mean, these inject probably nearly to the maximum we use. It's an injector that's capable of injecting 5 injections per stroke. Yeah, it's right bang up to date. Right, and we're bang up to date now with a Piezo Generation 3 Bosch. There we go, it's got the piezo on and off. And there's a profile. You can see how quick that the injector can respond compared to the electronic pulse from the trigger box. You can see how sharp. Just take that out. The digital profile is. You can hardly see the delay time there. You know, it's compared to anything else, it is very quick. What I would speak to you now is what you should really do in face of getting some reconditioned injectors. Reconditioned injectors are fine. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones. I'd always say, if you can, always fit brand new injectors. It's the quickest way of fixing a vehicle. Obviously, I know there's a price involved there. Every time we get some reconditioned injectors, it doesn't matter where they come from, we always check them first. We've got quite a good reputation, and I'd hate to lose it for somebody else's bad workmanship. So, and we always take data from them as well. Here's a profile of some injectors that we got from a major supplier of injectors, so they will have been done on the correct manufacturer's approved equipment. and there was one that was a little bit poor, so we rejected it straight away. Obviously people can't do that because they can't check them to fit them thinking they're going to be alright, but even though you've got the best equipment, some still do slip the net. So I'll just show you a profile of that. Here's both the digital profiles. We'll look at that close. Right, as you can see, they've got quite a good, they react both the same, and then it's obviously that the one that we've tested with we could see that the injection time was much smaller than a known good one, and in fact this one injected about 25% less than the other. Obviously some do slip the net. That's why I always suggest, if you can, always fit new. You get the last Estel from the customer, but obviously there's a price involved with that. Right, we're rounding off now with the coding. As most people know that injectors now, they need a code. This is the Delphi with the C2I code. This is the Bosch with the IMA code. And this is the Denso with the QR code. Now, for a quick explanation, from the way that we check injectors, we can actually see the difference. There's a very slight difference between the codes, and we'll just go to the scope now. So here is the digital profiles of two Delphi injectors, brand new. You can see the very slight differences in the profiles, as in the deep red one, it's injecting slightly more, very slightly more than the one behind. But to make up for that, you see the one behind is opening slightly longer. Now these both injectors probably will inject probably about the same amount, but as you can see there is slight differences in what the C2I coding makes up them differences, and that's why it's important to deal with the coded injectors. Right, we've come to the end of the demonstration. We've looked at the start of injection. We've also looked at the flow and the back leakage, and we've looked at the unique way that we use the scope in the workshop, as in the digital profile. Now we're looking at the future. Everybody's got to look at the future nowadays because the motor industry is running so quickly. The future we're looking at now is the petrol GDI, FSI, the direct injection petrol injectors. This one's the Siemens one. It's brand new out. We're looking at running this at its pressure, its normal running pressure, and looking at its digital profile. That's the future. Everybody's going to be hitting these in, well, it was in about 3 or 4 years, I should think. And we're also looking at running pumps on the top of the bench by making a test bench. This is just another part of the business. We want to hit max pressure. Max pressure is in between 1800 and 2000 bar, and obviously when we're hitting that sort of pressure, we're going to need to look at health and safety, and that's one of the things that we should speak about, health and safety. You've got to be very careful about the pressure. I mean, we've been looking at 700 to 1000 pounds this afternoon. That would pierce the skin, so whatever you do, please be very careful. Okay, the next edition, we're looking at stripping and rebuilding. We're going to look at removing some parts of the injector in the correct manner you should stick to when you put them back together. Okay, thanks for your time, and I shall see you in the next edition.